Zara woke up in Lusaka, feeling like the happiest woman in the world. It was her 4th wedding anniversary with Kwame, and she had planned every detail with love. The morning sun lit up their cozy bedroom, and she smiled as she stretched, already thinking about how to surprise him. She tiptoed out of bed and went straight to the kitchen, humming a soft tune as she started preparing his favorite breakfast. Eggs just the way he liked, buttered toast, and a splash of mango juice. Everything had to be perfect. As the smell of food filled the air, she imagined his face when he'd come out and see it all laid out. The food, the little handwritten note, the flowers she had picked up the day before. Later that evening, she had booked a dinner at a luxury restaurant and even had a small gift hidden in her bag. Zara loved moments like this. Quiet, thoughtful, full of meaning. But as she was setting the table, Kwame's phone buzzed on the couch. It was nothing out of the ordinary, just a notification. But something about it made her pause. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was something else. Without really thinking, she glanced at the screen, and in that second, her entire world changed. A message preview from a woman's name she didn't recognize flashed across the screen. Last night was everything. Can't wait to see you again tonight. Her hands froze. Her heart dropped. The breakfast suddenly didn't matter. The dinner, the gift, the years they had shared. It all started to blur. Zara stood there, holding a plate, trying to breathe, trying to understand. The room felt colder now, the silence louder, and in that quiet moment, the perfect morning she had planned turned into the start of a nightmare. Zara arrived early at the luxury restaurant in Kitwe, her heart full of hope and nerves. Even after the strange message she had seen on Kwame's phone that morning, part of her wanted to believe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe it was an old message. Maybe there was a good explanation. She had spent hours getting ready, carefully choosing the emerald dress he once said made her look like royalty. Her nails were done, her perfume soft and sweet. Tonight was supposed to be about love, healing, maybe even a fresh start. She told the hostess she had a reservation under Kwame's name. The woman smiled and led her to a private table in the corner. Candlelit, beautiful, perfect. Zara sat down and looked around, gently placing her small anniversary gift on the table. She checked the time. He said 7:30. It was just past 7:15. Her heart was beating fast, but she stayed calm. She wanted to believe in her marriage, in her husband, in the version of their story that still had hope. Then she saw him. Kwame walked in through the front doors, dressed in the same shirt she had bought him last Christmas. But he wasn't alone. He was holding hands with a woman Zara had never seen before. Tall, confident, smiling. They looked happy, laughing even, like this was their special night. Zara didn't move. Her hands turned cold. Her body stayed frozen in that chair as the two of them walked across the restaurant, straight to her table. And then the final blow. They sat down, right there, at the same table Zara had been waiting at just minutes before. Kwame didn't even look around. He didn't check to see if she might be there already. He didn't seem to care. The same man she had spent 4 years building a life with had planned a romantic night, but not with her. Zara quietly stood up before they could notice her. Her heart was shattering, piece by piece, but she kept her face steady. The hostess saw her walking out and gave a confused glance, but Zara didn't stop. She stepped into the night, into the dark Kitwe air, with tears burning in her eyes, and a gift still wrapped in her hand. Zara didn't sleep that night. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The image of Kwame holding another woman's hand burned into her mind. Her chest felt heavy, like her heart had been ripped open and nothing could fill the space it left behind. But by morning, she made a decision. She needed answers. She deserved at least that. Later that day, she met Kwame at a cafe he often went to. It was quiet, a few people scattered at tables nearby. Zara sat across from him, calm, but shaking inside. He looked surprised to see her, but not guilty, just annoyed. That hurt even more. "I saw you," she said softly. "Last night, at the restaurant." Kwame rolled his eyes, leaned back in his chair, and didn't even try to deny it. "Zara, not this again," he said sharply. "You're always so dramatic, always looking for problems." She blinked, stunned. Her voice trembled, but she spoke with control. "I came to celebrate our anniversary. I was sitting at the table. You sat there, with someone else." People nearby had started to listen. The cafe had gone strangely quiet, like the whole room was holding its breath. Kwame didn't lower his voice. Instead, he scoffed and said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You know what, Zara? You're emotionally exhausting. Everything with you is a scene." For a moment, time stopped. His words cut deeper than any lie ever could. The people around them stared, some in shock, some with pity, but Zara didn't cry. She didn't shout. She simply picked up her purse, stood slowly, and looked at him one last time, not with hate, but with heartbreak. "I was never asking for too much," she whispered. "I was just asking the wrong person." Then she turned and walked out of the cafe. Her legs felt like stone, but her back was straight. Her heart was shattered, yes, but her dignity still untouched. She walked through the door with silent pain burning inside her, but her head held high. And that was the moment she promised herself. This would not be the end of her story. Zara walked into her apartment and locked the door behind her. The silence hit her like a wave. The same home where she once laughed with Kwame, shared dreams, made plans for the future, now felt cold, unfamiliar, empty. She held it together until she reached the bedroom. Then, everything inside her broke. She fell to the floor, her body shaking with sobs, the kind of crying that doesn't come with sound at first, just pain, deep and raw, stuck in the throat. Her chest hurt, her eyes burned, and the weight of everything crashed down at once. The betrayal, the humiliation, the years she gave, the love she poured, all for someone who didn't even say sorry. She cried until there were no more tears left, just silence, just her. For hours, she lay there. At some point, she opened a drawer beside her bed and pulled out an old notebook, one she hadn't touched in years. It was dusty, the pages slightly torn, but still full of dreams. Her dreams, drawings, notes, small plans she had written down when she was younger, of a wellness studio for women, a place filled with plants, natural beauty, healing spaces, laughter, a place where women could come to breathe, to feel safe, to feel powerful again. She held the notebook to her chest and closed her eyes. And in that stillness, something shifted. The pain didn't disappear, but it began to change shape, from something heavy to something burning, like a fire, not the kind that destroys, but the kind that builds. A fire that says, "You're not done yet." Zara sat up. Her heart was still sore, but a new thought echoed in her mind. What if this pain is the beginning? What if this isn't my ending, but my redirection? For the first time in days, she stood tall. Her eyes were tired, but they held a quiet strength. She looked around her room and whispered to herself, "It's time." She didn't know where to start. She didn't have a clear plan yet, but she had something stronger than answers. She had purpose. And with that, Zara decided she would no longer wait for someone else to value her. She would rise, and this time, it would be for herself. Zara packed her bags and left Lusaka with a quiet heart and a loud dream. She didn't tell many people. She wasn't running away. She was choosing to start over. Ndola wasn't part of her original plan, but when she heard about a women's business accelerator there, something inside her said, "Go." It was a program for women with big ideas, but no support. Women who had been knocked down, but refused to stay there. On the first day, she walked into a small room filled with women just like her. Some carried broken hearts. Some carried children. All of them carried pain. But more importantly, they carried hope. They sat in circles, shared stories, cried, laughed, and learned together. And for the first time in a long time, Zara felt seen. She didn't have to explain the ache in her chest. They already understood. As the weeks passed, Zara slowly started building her dream. She talked about her love for nature, for African herbs and oils, for wellness practices rooted in her culture. The women listened, encouraged her, pushed her to go bigger. One night, after a long workshop, Zara stayed back in the empty classroom and started sketching an idea, a brand that wasn't just about products, but about healing, about reminding women of their worth, a brand that said, "You are powerful, even when you're hurting." She called it Power Within. The name came from her own journey, from crying on the bedroom floor to sitting in this space, designing something from her pain. Every oil blend, every jar of body butter, every tea mix she planned to make would carry a message. You are still whole, even if someone tried to break you. With the support of the women around her, strangers who had now become sisters, Zara started putting the pieces together. She had no funding yet, but she had vision. She had no store yet, but she had purpose. And in the quiet nights, while others slept, she stayed up late mixing samples, writing labels by hand, dreaming of shelves lined with healing. Zara was no longer trying to prove anything to Kwame or to anyone else. She was building something bigger than revenge. She was building her power from the ashes with purpose. For the next 2 years, Zara kept her head down and worked like her life depended on it. While the world moved on, while Kwame's name faded from her lips, she poured every piece of herself into building power within. It started small, just her, a few ingredients, and a borrowed kitchen space in Ndola. She mixed oils, crushed herbs, tested creams, and labeled every product by hand. There were days she smelled like she lived inside a jar of shea butter, but she didn't care. This was her healing, her mission. She wasn't loud about it. She didn't post about her heartbreak or beg for attention. She just built, quietly, consistently. Every market day she'd show up with a little table, a banner she printed with her last savings, and a warm smile. She'd talk to women one by one, letting them sample her products, sharing bits of her story only when it felt right. People started noticing, not just the glow of her skin, but the fire in her spirit. Zara read books on business at night, took online classes during lunch breaks, and emailed anyone who might help. Some ignored her, some laughed, but others, especially women who had also been through their own storms, believed in her. One customer became a mentor, another became her first investor. Little by little, power within grew, from one table to a shelf in a boutique, from a shelf to her first small studio, from a studio to an online store that started gaining attention across Zambia. Every product had meaning. The rebirth oil was made during her loneliest week. The still whole body butter came from a journal entry she once wrote while crying. Zara turned her pain into packaging, and people felt it. They didn't just buy beauty products. They bought hope. They bought strength. They bought a piece of her journey. There were nights she cried out of exhaustion, days she felt like giving up, but then she'd remember where she started, broken, alone, holding a wrapped gift in her hand outside a restaurant. That memory no longer brought shame. It brought fire. Zara refused to let heartbreak write her final chapter. Instead, she wrote her own, quietly, boldly, and with love, stitched into every label, every jar, every dream. One rainy afternoon, Zara opened her email and froze. She read the subject line twice, just to be sure she wasn't imagining it. Invitation to speak. Women's Empowerment Gala. Kitwe. Her heart skipped. Kitwe. The same city, the same venue, the same place where everything in her life had fallen apart, where she had once sat, dressed in hope, only to watch the man she loved walk in holding someone else's hand. She stared at the screen, unsure how to feel. It had been almost 2 years. She had built her brand, grown her strength, learned to smile again. But this was a full circle moment. She clicked the message and read on. They wanted her to be the keynote speaker, to share her journey, her pain, her power, and how she turned it into purpose. She took a deep breath. This wasn't just an invite. This was destiny knocking. Zara said yes. When she arrived at the gala weeks later, the venue looked just like she remembered. Grand, glowing, filled with flowers and soft music. But something had changed. She had changed. She walked in, not as someone's wife, not as someone's shadow, but as Zara, founder of Power Within, a woman who turned heartbreak into healing for thousands of others. And then came the twist. While checking in backstage, she heard a familiar voice behind her. She turned, and there he was, Kwame, not in a suit, not in control, but wearing a staff badge and helping move chairs, the assistant to the event planner. For a moment, time paused. He saw her, and his face said everything. Regret, shock, maybe even shame. Zara didn't flinch. She smiled politely and kept walking, heels clicking confidently across the marble floor. The stage was calling. That night, under bright lights and in front of a room full of women, she told her story, not with bitterness, but with power. She spoke about betrayal, pain, and the fire that followed. She spoke about how healing isn't pretty, but it's possible. The crowd rose to their feet, clapping, crying, cheering, and somewhere in the back, Kwame watched it all unfold. But Zara didn't look back. She had already moved forward, far beyond him, far beyond that night. She was the woman of the moment now, and this time, she wasn't the one waiting at the table. She was the table. The lights dimmed, music faded. A hush fell over the room as the host stepped up to the mic. Please welcome our keynote speaker, the founder of Power Within, a woman whose story has touched hearts across the country. Zara Mwansa. Zara stepped onto the stage. She wore a flowing gown the color of deep earth, her natural curls crowned with gold pins, her walk calm but full of power. The applause started softly, then grew louder, women rising to their feet, clapping, cheering, some even crying. She stood at the center, under the lights, smiling with grace. 2 years ago, she was crying on a cold bedroom floor. Now, she was standing on a stage that once held her pain, but tonight it held her power. And in the back of the room, Kwame watched. He had been helping backstage, moving cables and checking schedules, never expecting her to be the main act. He froze when he saw her name on the program, and when he saw her walk out, the same woman he once called emotionally exhausting, now being celebrated like royalty, he couldn't look away. Zara spoke with calm strength. She didn't mention names, but she told the truth about betrayal, about losing herself, about the moment she realized she didn't need anyone else to save her, because the power was already within her. Every word hit deep. The crowd gave her a standing ovation when she finished. Cameras flashed. Women lined up to meet her. Her story had become something bigger than pain. It had become permission for others to rise too. After the event, Zara stepped outside to breathe. The night air was cool. She looked up at the stars, calm, centered, at peace. Then she heard footsteps. "Zara," a voice said quietly. She turned. It was him, Kwame. He looked smaller now, not just physically, but in presence. The confidence he once wore like armor was gone. "I didn't know you were speaking tonight," he said. I've seen what you've built. It's amazing." She nodded. "Thank you. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for everything," he added, voice low, unsure. Zara looked at him, not with anger, not with hate, just stillness. "I appreciate that," she said softly, "but I'm not carrying that story anymore." Before he could say more, her assistant walked over. "They're ready for you inside. Press interview." Zara turned to go, then looked back one last time. "I'm not available for apologies, Kwame," she said gently. "I'm too busy living the life you thought I couldn't build." And just like that, she walked away, graceful, confident, untouchable. This time, she wasn't chasing closure. She was the closure. A few days after the gala, Zara sat in a quiet cafe tucked away in the heart of Ndola. It wasn't planned. She just needed a moment to breathe, to reflect, to take in how far she had come. Her phone buzzed. A message from Kwame. "Could we talk? Just once. No drama, just a conversation." She stared at the screen. A part of her wanted to ignore it, but a deeper part, the one that had grown, healed and risen, felt something else. Not curiosity, not old feelings, just clarity. She replied simply, "One coffee, nothing more." They met the next day, in a small, quiet corner of the cafe. Kwame looked different, not just older, but like life had humbled him in ways she didn't need to ask about. He smiled nervously when he saw her. "Zara," he said, voice unsure, like he didn't know if he was allowed to say her name anymore. She greeted him politely. No anger, no sharp words, just calm. "I've been watching from a distance," he said slowly, "and I just wanted to say, I'm proud of you. I don't deserve your time, but thank you for this moment." Zara took a breath and looked him in the eyes. "I don't hate you, Kwame. I never did. I just had to learn how to love myself more than I missed you." He lowered his eyes, silent. "I didn't come here for revenge," she continued. "I came to say thank you, not for the betrayal. That hurt deeper than I can explain. But thank you for pushing me to find my strength. I wouldn't be who I am without that pain." She stood up, placing her bag on her shoulder. "Your replacement was never another man," she added softly. "Your replacement was my redirection." He looked up, stunned, unsure how to respond. Zara gave him a small, peaceful smile, the kind that says, "I'm free now." No bitterness, no regrets, just closure. And with that, she walked away, not to prove anything, not to hurt him, but because her chapter with him had ended, completely, finally. Some people wait years for apologies. Others build lives so beautiful, the apology isn't even needed anymore. Zara had chosen the latter. 3 years after her heartbreak, Zara stood in front of a bright yellow building with her name on the sign and tears in her eyes. But this time, they weren't sad tears. They were full of pride. The building wasn't just a dream anymore. It was real. The Power Within Center for Girls, a space made just for young African girls to grow, to dream, to heal. and to believe in themselves. Inside, walls were painted with soft colors, and posters read words like, "You are enough and your voice matters." There were classrooms for business training, quiet rooms for journaling and meditation, and even a small shop where the girls could learn how to create and sell self-care products, just like Zara once did. Every month, Zara taught a special class where she shared her story, not the gossip version people whispered about, but the real one, the one about rising from betrayal, about building something from nothing, about choosing peace over revenge. And every time she spoke, the girls listened with wide eyes and open hearts. Many of them had already seen too much pain in their young lives, but seeing Zara, bold, kind, successful, gave them something they didn't even know they were missing: hope. Her story spread like wildfire across social media. Videos of her talks, photos of the center, and clips of smiling girls learning and laughing went viral across Africa. People didn't celebrate her because of what she had lost. They celebrated her because of what she built from the ashes. Zara didn't just heal herself. She built a legacy that would heal generations. And that was the real win. Not the brand, not the fame, but knowing that every girl who walked through those doors would leave believing one powerful truth: her pain doesn't define her, her power does.